I expressed the view that the current state of U.S.-Russia relations is at a low point. The world's two foremost nuclear powers cannot have this kind of relationship.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said he had a productive and frank 2-hour meeting on Wednesday with Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. And they covered a lot of ground, especially on the Syrian conflict.
We both believe in a unified and stable Syria.
But the agreement pretty much stops there. Tillerson again said the U.S. has conclusive evidence Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's regime planned and carried out a chemical attack on its civilians last week. Lavrov said there needs to be an objective investigation.
The principle of innocent until proven guilty has to be respected.
Tillerson said the reign of the Assad family is coming to an end. He also said war crime charges could be possible the longer time goes by.
A successful ouster of a dictator is for me very hard to remember.
Lavrov said overthrowing a dictator can make conditions worse. He cited the ouster of Saddam Hussein in Iraq and Muammar Gaddafi in Libya as examples. Later Wednesday, Russia blocked the UN Security Council's draft resolution condemning Syria and calling for it to comply with an investigation.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said that relations between Russia and the United States have gotten worse since President Donald Trump took office. On April 12th, Putin said that trust had eroded between the U.S. and Russia in the months since Trump's inauguration, remarking, quote, "One could say that the level of trust on a working level, especially on the military level, has not improved, but rather has deteriorated." Putin's comments came as U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson was set to meet his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Moscow.
Well, in the meantime, the Russian President Vladimir Putin says Syria has fulfilled its commitments on getting rid of chemical weapons, and there is no proof that Damascus was behind the recent suspected gas attack.
What was the reaction from the NATO allies? Everyone is nodding like bubbleheads without analyzing anything that's happening. Where is the proof that Syrian army used chemical weapons?
I've said that this US strike reminds me strongly of events in Iraq in 2003 when US representatives at the UN Security Council showed alleged chemical weapons found in Iraq. A military campaign was then launched in Iraq and it resulted in the destruction of the country, the growth of the terrorist threat and the emergence of the Islamic State.
According to statements made by Russian President Vladimir Putin, unnamed forces inside Syria are plotting to carry out chemical attacks and frame the regime of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad for them. These comments come in the midst of a major diplomatic rift between the United States and Russia.
On Wednesday, Donald Trump admitted that the United States' relationship with Russia is at an all-time low. In a joint news conference alongside NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, Trump said, "Right now we're not getting along with Russia at all. We may be at an all-time low in terms of our relationship with Russia."
U.S. President Donald Trump has signaled Washington's support for NATO's eastward expansion in Europe, describing the Western military alliance as the bulwark of international peace and security.
The NATO alliance has been the bulwark of international peace and security. NATO allies defeated communism and liberated the captive nations of the Cold War. They secured the longest period of unbroken peace that Europe has ever known.
Trump made the remarks during a joint press conference with visiting NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. In a sudden shift from his anti-NATO stance during and before his election, Trump said that the Western alliance is not obsolete anymore. The U.S. president also vowed to enhance Washington's partnership with the Western alliance. However, he stressed that NATO members should pay their fair share for the support the U.S. provides for them. Stoltenberg, for his part, said NATO is not seeking a new Cold War with Russia.
The message from NATO is that what we do is proportionate, it is defensive, and we don't want a new Cold War, we don't want a new arms race. And actually we strongly believe that there is no contradiction between a strong NATO a credible deterrence and defense, and political dialogue with Russia.
Comments came as thousands of U.S. troops have already been deployed to the 3 Baltic states and Poland that all border Russia. Moscow believes NATO's anti-Russia measures run counter to international law. The Kremlin has been a strong opponent of troop deployments by the Western military alliance in Eastern Europe, saying it is meant to encircle Russia.
Well, U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened North Korea with military action, while Pyongyang says the U.S. military bases will be nuked at any sign of aggression. Trump has tweeted that Pyongyang is looking for trouble, warning that Washington is prepared to take action against North Korea with or without China. Pyongyang says its army is closely watching U.S. activities, with its nuclear missiles pointing at American military bases in the continental United States and elsewhere. White House spokesman Sean Spicer has dismissed the threat as empty, saying North Korea doesn't have the military technology to target the U.S. Meanwhile, North Korea's parliament has convened in one of its biennial sessions amid heightened tension sparked by the deployment of an American naval strike group to waters off the Korean peninsula.
Russia raising the stakes in the standoff over North Korea. The Kremlin ordering nuclear-capable bombers to fly near Japan, the latest sign of escalating tensions in that region. The move comes with Secretary of State Rex Tillerson visiting Moscow to meet with officials there.
The Japanese government and media seem to be heaping more fuel on the already tense security situation here on the Korean peninsula.
The front page of the conservative Japanese newspaper Sankei Shimbun reads, U.S. preparing for preemptive strike on North Korea. Other outlets such as Nihon News and Kyodo News are saying that if the North Korean nuclear issue is not resolved using diplomatic means, then Washington will take military action against Pyongyang. The Yomiuri Shimbun reported that Japan has asked the U.S. to consult with it prior to any military action U.S. forces might take against North Korea, adding that Washington has indicated its intention to accept the request. This topic has also been raised in Japan's parliament, with the ruling Liberal Democratic Party saying that evacuation measures should be devised in case of an emergency. It goes as far to say that this emergency could be Seoul turning into a sea of fire, mimicking rhetoric North Korea has used in the past. Also, the website of Tokyo's foreign ministry urges Japanese people either living or traveling to South Korea to take safety precautions. Japan's media and parliament are citing the safety of its people as a top priority, but critics say Tokyo may have other intentions, especially as the country seeks to strengthen its military presence around the world.
According to Breitbart News, online local media reports coming out of South Korea are reporting that the same U.S. Navy SEAL team that killed Osama bin Laden is currently training to assassinate North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. The reports claim that SEAL Team 6 has been deployed to South Korea, where they are participating in the full Eagle and Key Resolve exercise taking place in the region. The Pentagon has not confirmed these reports, but did confirm that ground, air, naval, and special operations are carrying out several joint and combined field training operations with up to 17,000 troops in the region.
Our top story this morning, though, Chinese President Xi Jinping is calling for the peaceful resolution of tensions swirling around the North Korea issue.
Just 4 days after their summit in Florida, Presidents Trump and Xi were on the phone on Wednesday to discuss solutions to the North Korean nuclear issue. President Xi, who is known to have made the phone call, emphasized the importance of solving the issue in a peaceful manner.
While stressing his support for the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, President Xi Jinping said the issue must be solved in a peaceful manner, and he hopes to maintain communication and cooperation with the United States.
President Trump also underscored the importance of close cooperation between Washington and Beijing. Watchers say the call, coming so soon after the two leaders met face-to-face, will serve as a warning to Pyongyang to refrain from further provocations. A state-run media outlet in China reports that Beijing has sent Pyongyang another strong message, threatening to shut down an oil pipeline that supplies free crude oil to the north if the regime conducts a major provocation like a nuclear test or a long-range missile launch. This could be a significant development as Beijing has long resisted Washington's continued requests to halt the flow of oil into North Korea. It also comes after reports that China has halted coal imports from North Korea and is even sending received coal back to the north.
Now, President Donald Trump says he will not label China a currency manipulator, stepping back from one of his key campaign pledges. The reversal came in an interview with the Wall Street Journal on Wednesday. A spokesman for the U.S. Treasury confirmed the report, saying the official assessment will be out in its semi-annual foreign currency report this month. On the campaign trail, Trump promised to cut Chinese imports into the United States and put a brake on trade-driven job losses. The remarks came even as he said the US dollar was getting too strong and would eventually take a toll on the economy.
This will come as a surprise both inside and outside Iran. Former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad put forward his name to run in next month's presidential election after he was warned not to by the country's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Ahmadinejad, who served 2 four-year terms from 2005 to 2013, is considered a so-called hardliner. After submitting his registration, Ahmadinejad described the Supreme Leader's comments recommending him not to run as just advice.
However, his advice did not mean I am barred from running. He said he was telling me either to come or not to come. It was just advice. There is extensive pressure on me from dear people of different walks of life as their small servant to come to the election scene.
Ahmadinejad's time in office was often clouded by controversy. Iran's economy suffered under heavy international sanctions because of Western claims that Iran was developing nuclear weapons. Iran has always said its nuclear program was for peaceful purposes. 2 of Ahmadinejad's former vice presidents have been jailed for corruption since he left office. His disputed election win in 2009 sparked huge protests and a subsequent crackdown during which thousands of people were detained and dozens killed. He is remembered perhaps most in the West by his repeated questioning of the scale of the Holocaust and predicting the end of Israel.
All right, now Israeli police have faced a great many challenges this Passover holiday. Aside from being on heightened alert to thwart any attempted Islamist terror attacks during the festivities, they've also been trying to keep extremist Jews from reenacting the biblical tradition of sacrificing animals in Jerusalem. 17 people have been arrested on charges of disturbing the peace for allegedly trying to sneak baby goats into the Temple Mount compound in Jerusalem's Old City. 6 of those taken into custody were minors, and they're all believed to be activists in the Return to the Mount movement, which wants to reinstitute the custom of offering sacrifices on Passover dating back thousands of years. Fortunately, 6 of the little goats were rescued and transferred to the investigative department at the Ministry of Agriculture. 7 of the detainees, including the head of the group, were arrested the day before the holiday even began, released, and then rearrested again yesterday for persisting with their plans. The members claim they're being persecuted for only trying to fulfill ancient Jewish commandments. For now, all of the offenders have been banned from the Temple Mount, the slaughter or sacrificing of any animals in the Old City, or even bringing any animals to the area for the purpose of killing them. The police department says it will continue to take action against anyone seeking to upset public order, and that officers will continue to behave professionally so that all residents and visitors to the area, of all ethnicities and religions, can live safely.
Last night's bomb attack on the bus of German football team Borussia Dortmund is being investigated for possible Islamist links. It follows the discovery of 2 letters.
2 letters seem to be at the very heart of an ongoing investigation by authorities into just who carried out this bomb attack against the Borussia Dortmund team bus as it made its way from their hotel to the stadium last night. Now, one of the letters, which was found at the scene, begins in the name of Allah, gracious and merciful. It has a death list including athletes and celebrities that will be targeted if their demands aren't met. Now, the second letter emerged online late on Tuesday evening and says that it's from an anti-fascist group claiming responsibility for the bomb attack in response to Borussia Dortmund not taking steps against racist and neo-Nazi fans, trying to establish which, if either, of these letters are legitimate and come from the perpetrators. Now, what we have heard from the police in relation to the actual bombing itself is that 3 explosive devices described as serious explosives were set off as the bus took a corner. It was slowing down at that point. Also that a 4th device that didn't go off was found at the team hotel. And also the police saying that this was a targeted attack, that Borussia Dortmund's team specifically targeted it.
After Friday's terror attack in Stockholm left 4 people dead, a veteran journalist said that crackdowns on immigration or extremist ideology are not the way forward when it comes to terror prevention. Editorialist Eva Franchel writes that it is cars which have become effective murder machines, adding that cars must simply be removed from center cities and places where people gather if people are to be protected in the future. The idea of reducing the number of cars in Swedish cities was backed last month by Sweden's environmental minister, who argued that driving is a gender equality issue as well as a matter of shrinking the nation's carbon emissions.
Nigerian security officials say they foiled a plan by the ISIS-linked terror group Boko Haram to attack the U.S. and British embassies in the capital city of Abuja. Officials say they broke up a ring last month and 5 suspects are under arrest. It all comes 1 week after the State Department issued a travel warning for Nigeria. Boko Haram has been terrorizing that country for years, often using children as suicide bombers.
In Nigeria and its neighboring countries, the insurgents of Boko Haram are using more and more child suicide bombers, according to UNICEF. So far this year, 27 children have blown themselves up in the name of the armed Islamist group. That's 3 times more than a year ago. Boko Haram has kidnapped thousands of children to use as sex slaves or child soldiers. Those who escape are often rejected by their families.
The problem with the rejection and stigma is that these children then become isolated. And if they become isolated, chances are they may actually find their way back to Boko Haram.
It's been almost 3 years since the group kidnapped more than 250 schoolgirls from the town of Chibok in northern Nigeria. Only a few dozen have escaped. The 8-year-old insurgency has claimed more than 20,000 lives and displaced more than 2 million people, mostly children.
Former President Barack Obama is scheduled to speak at a forum in Berlin with Chancellor Angela Merkel. The two will share their ideas about global responsibility in our interconnected planet. The forum is sponsored by the German Protestant Kitchen Tag and the Obama Foundation. It's to celebrate the 500th anniversary of the Protestant Reformation. The topic of the discussion will be being involved in democracy, taking on responsibility locally and globally. The event will take place at the Brandenburg Gate. This is not far from Obama's first major international speech in Europe when he campaigned for president in 2008.
Bankruptcy looms as Puerto Rico approaches the May 1st deadline to restructure $70 billion in debt, adding to uncertainty for anyone betting on returns from the island's widely held U.S. municipal bonds. Last year, the United States Congress passed the Puerto Rico Rescue Law dubbed PROMESA, legislation which froze creditor lawsuits against the island so its federally appointed oversight board and creditors could negotiate out of court on the biggest debt restructuring in U.S. municipal history. While a round of mediated talks is scheduled to begin on Thursday, a growing number of analysts predict that Puerto Rico will seek protection from creditors under PROMESA's court-sanctioned restructuring process, a move akin to filing for bankruptcy. The country is currently trying to escape a crisis marked by a 45% poverty rate and rampant immigration.
According to CBS News, the national credit card debt has hit $1 trillion. Boosted consumer confidence and bank promotions are the driving factors contributing to the debt, which is now close to where the United States was before the financial crisis. Credit cards are profitable for banks who have a habit of targeting markets that are especially vulnerable, subprime borrowers. Additionally, point systems and rewards programs have pushed holders to make big purchases on the cards.
The nation's biggest retailer is cutting jobs, but still offering an incentive to customers. Hundreds of job cuts at Walmart, this time affecting its international and technology businesses, as well as its Sam's Club warehouse. In all, Walmart has eliminated about 18,000 jobs since the beginning of last year. All of that to save money. And now Walmart saving you money, beginning a program called Pick Up Discount next week. It lets shoppers order an online-only item, but pick it up themselves at a Walmart store. In some cases, a few cents will be saved, but in others, up to $50.
Residents in San Francisco's Mission and Potrero Hill neighborhoods might be surprised next time they open the door for the takeout delivery guy. San Francisco-based robotics startup Marble has launched a partnership with Yelp Eat24, adding its small cargo-carrying robots to Eat24's delivery fleet. Marble staff follow along remotely from their offices and help with tasks like crossing a busy intersection. During the introductory phase, at least one employee walks alongside the robot to answer questions and make sure everything goes smoothly.
For the robot to have a voice, to talk to the people that are curious about it, to interact with the local businesses, answers questions.
The robots have been in development for about a year and have finally started to take to the streets in recent weeks.
Traveling down the streets of Mission requires a unique set of things. So we have a series of different sensors like LiDAR, cameras, and ultrasonic in order for us to sense in all environments, whether it's darker out or whether it's foggy or it's in a crowded area.
Before helping Marble robots navigate their deliveries, the sensors were used to gather neighborhood map data.
With these sensors, we built a set of proprietary maps that allows us to understand the world around us. There's a high-fidelity 3D maps of the world.
Marble is starting with takeout food delivery, but hopes to eventually expand its service to include delivery of other goods like groceries. Other firms like Starship Technologies, based in the UK, and Italy's Piaggio, known as the manufacturer of Vespa scooters, are also testing their own sidewalk robots for carrying everything from takeout to groceries and medication.
A magnitude 6 earthquake struck Lanao del Sur in Mindanao on Wednesday, April 12th. The Philippines Institute of Volcanology and Seismology reported the quake's epicenter in the town of Wao. It was also felt in 16 other cities and towns, including the heavily populated cities of Davao and Cagayan de Oro. Local authorities said the tremor damaged at least 30 houses, several commercial buildings, mosques, and schools. It also caused a wide crack on a highway near an army post in Panag Village, according to the Municipal Disaster Office in Wao. Only minor injuries were reported. The disaster also caused power outages across the province, but electricity was restored a few hours later. The quake comes days after another strong tremor hit Batangas province over the weekend, forcing thousands of people to evacuate.
We had some really nasty storms in eastern New Mexico, West Texas throughout the day on Wednesday, and most of them produced some pretty big hail. You see some of that video out of New Mexico. This is a picture out of Texas. And yeah, hail was definitely the biggest thing that these storms were producing. But anytime you get a storm that can produce hail that big, you can definitely get some damaging wind too.
So it's only April, and wildfires in the U.S. have already burned 2 million acres. Now that is more than 4 times the average in the same period. Now you're probably wondering where have the bad spots been this year. So the epicenter has been the stretch from Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas, but also the Carolinas and Florida. About 77% of the acreage burn this year has occurred in these spots. So strong winds, dry weather in March, of course, that fed a lot of that destructive activity, and there were unfortunately 6 people who lost their lives in those fires.
Aw, rats! And a cat, and a dog. These 3 unlikely friends are shaking up the animal kingdom when it comes to who gets along with whom. They're referred to as the Rat Pack, which is made up of Sasha the dog, Jack the cat, and Tweaks the rat. A trio that proved its loyalty when they showed up at the Oshkosh Area Humane Society after their owner was forced to give them up. The staff at the facility says their behavior changed when they were separated for evaluation, but improved when they reunited. Sasha, Jack, and Tweaks love to cuddle and are much happier together. Luckily, someone else believed things are better in threes because they were all adopted into the same family. This dog, cat, and rat make friendship look as easy as 1, 2, 3.